everybody and welcome. My name is Andrea Lepri and today I will be translating Fernando Lepri's lesson about how to perform the ornaments on two strings. This work is for the ones who are interested to deep dive in how to perform the ornaments on two strings. I will suggest different ways and fingering of the right hand as an alternative to the traditional way of the slurs with the left hand. Especially in some pieces, we will then have different alternatives, which might be, in some cases, even more efficient for what concerns articulations and dynamics. In this video, you will see how to perform the examples which will be shown later on and the performance of the Allemand BWV 996 by Johann Sebastian Bach, in which I use this alternative way I'm about to show you. We can start with three examples with different ways of ornaments. A simple harmonic progression. The tempo is quite slow, and this allows you to perform the trills with expressive flexibility. A very short example from the Concert for Two Mandolins and Strings by Antonio Vivaldi RV 532. The tempo is vivace and as a consequence, the trill is fast and rhythmic. An example with mordents from the Allemand BWV 996 by Johann Sebastian Bach. After having listened to these examples, we will talk about the main types of trill by starting from the one which we could call the starting formula, the trill made by a quadruplet plus the real note. We will use the C as a real note. This might be a traditional way of performing. If we want to play this trill on two strings, we have to prepare the C on the third string with the third finger and the D on the second string with the first finger. For what concerns the fingering on the right hand, we will use thumb, ring finger, index finger and middle finger. Thumb on the third string, ring finger on the second string, index finger on the third string, middle finger on the second string and the thumb on the third string as a final note.
Pollice, anulare, indice, medio, pollice.
This fingering allows a more natural placement of the fingers on the two strings. This allows the middle finger, the longest finger, to play the second string, which is the furthest, and the index finger, which is shorter, to play the third string, which is closer. To start getting familiar with fingering, I recommend this preparatory exercise with the open strings. Play the bichord G, B, third and second open strings, first with thumb and ring finger, and then with index and middle finger. You can start playing the trill very slowly. As soon as you reach the right balance in the movement, you can move to the trill itself. If necessary, you can stretch the trill according to the needs. After playing the last note of the trill, the real note, it would be very important to stop the sound of the upper note which we use to play the ornament. By doing this, we will avoid an annoying dissonance caused by the second interval. In order to interrupt the sound, it will be enough to put the ring finger or the middle finger of the right hand on the upper string to stop the vibration. Another possibility, where there are no open strings involved, is to release the finger on the left hand corresponding to the upper note. In this case, the finger which is released can be used to mute possible dissonances on other strings by putting this finger back on them. Before taking a look at the main variations of the starting formula, it's time for some annotations. First of all, you can always download the booklet for free, in which you will find the musical examples and some exercises. We are performing the trill on the second and third string and not on the first two, as it will be more spontaneous. This is not a random choice, because, in my opinion, it is important to start the study on the central strings, because the presence of the first string forces us to perform the movement of the fingers of the right hand in a compound and controlled way, avoiding too wide movements that will make everything messy and unbalanced. The presence of the first string is an excellent wake-up call that warns us if we were making an excessive movement as we would hit it. It is essential to assimilate the starting formula perfectly by slowly studying and working on the individual movements separately at the beginning, taking into account that the trill must then be performed as a single movement. It is necessary that the weight given to the fingers of the right hand is well controlled to avoid the misplaced accentuation. In this regard, it is important to pay close attention to the last note of the trill, the real note. Since this is played with the thumb, and since it is a rival note of a very rapid movement, there is a risk of giving it an accent by mistake. In the trill, if there is a note that must have a greater accent, this is definitely the first one, and certainly not the last one. The trill cannot always be schematically arranged in one or more quadruplets, because the musical figuration for the realization might be different. The trill, for example, often starts from the upper note. In this case, the starting formula will be preceded by the middle finger or the ring finger playing the upper note. In addition, especially in slow and moderate tempos, the trill is more interesting if it is performed with a light rubato, rather than mechanically. It will be enough to play two or more notes in preparation, played with index and middle finger before the starting fingering. By performing the trill with the preparation of the index and middle finger, we can play a possible low note. Let's now listen to the same harmonic progression we listened to at the beginning, this time with the low notes played together with the preparation for the trill. Let's now examine the mordent. Since these are generally very short and rapid executions, I suggest another fingering for the right hand, which can be used for the execution of the mordent, which is starting from the upper note. It is based on the sliding of the index and middle finger. You will play the upper note with the index finger, and then, sliding with the same finger, you will be also playing the real note. You will then repeat the same thing with the middle finger. Alternatively, the ring finger can also be used. It might be useful to put the thumbs on the low strings. This sliding must be very natural and the movements must be fast and smooth, without stiffening the phalanxes of the index and middle fingers. This technique, right because of its movement, also has the particularity of being quite sonorous. Let's see a simple descending scale embellished with mordents. Remember to stop the sound of the upper note after each ornament to avoid dissonance. It is possible to play low notes even on the mordents. Let's keep using the same harmonic progression. In conclusion, you can listen to the Allemande taken from Johann Sebastian Bach's suite BWV 996, where you will find some of the modes of performance that we have seen so far. This piece is very suitable because the dances of the Baroque suites are made up of two parts, each of which is repeated. It was normal at that time to perform these refrains introducing diminutions and, indeed, ornaments as an element of variation. I would like to point out that this short video cannot and does not want to be exhaustive of the subject. The types of ornaments are so many and the musical knowledge, the technical training and the personality of each performer are too different. The intention is to stimulate a greater in-depth study in order to be able to find the solution that can best adapt to the individuality and needs of each and every one. It is important that you choose carefully when and where to use this mode of performance. Personally, for example, I am very cautious in using the technique on two strings in the music of guitarist composers of the 19th century, because they certainly wanted the trills performed with the left-hand slurs, although there are exceptions. On the other hand, in the contemporary repertoire, and especially in the Baroque repertoire, the performance on two strings can instead offer very interesting ideas and solutions. Thank you for watching and success!